All right, we're preparing to live stream the webinar.
Yeah, my mother-in-law has her.
All right, we're preparing to live stream the web.
Yeah, my mother-in-law has her.
Okay, I have muted the Facebook page. Okay.
All right.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Isela Garcia with some of the Alessi Group consultants. We didn't chat about who was going to start. So it's all there. With us today, we have Marisa Calderon and Regina Aldridge. Both are consultants who do a lot of work with us at Alessi Group. And one of the things that we are hoping to do more of is to highlight some of the experiences and the activities that we have planned for, those of you who have come to our sessions. If you're an early childhood educator, even if you're a parent, we are designing sessions to really support your understanding of early brain development and to become much more proficient in your not only your ability to work effectively with children, but your ability to articulate what it is you're doing and why you're doing it in terms of brain development, brain research, and our just understanding of best practices in early childhood education. And so one of our upcoming sessions with the Alessi Group is batteries not included. And what was the second part of that? I don't have the flyer in front of me.
The description?
Yeah, where the second, I think we had batteries not included, and then there was a second part, wasn't there? Do you have the flyer?
Building toys that build brains.
Yeah, building toys that build brains. So let me tell you a little bit about what our rationale around this, where this came from. When I was a classroom teacher, I worked in my very first job was in a very poor nonprofit organization. And we quite literally had is it a gallon? I think it's the gallon size of glue for the entire school. And we had a storage at the end of the hallway where we used to store all of our school supplies. And we had an understanding that the materials that were located in this closet were to be there for us for the entire school year. And so we only got so much paper, and we had the one jug of glue, and we had to kind of learn to make do with what we had. And a lot of that meant that we used a lot of recycled materials. We collected the paper towel rolls, the egg cartons. And I know you all quality first people out there are saying, no egg cartons and toilet paper rolls, but it's what we did.
Yeah.
And we found, bottle caps and caps of different jars and lids. We used that for sorting. And I have to tell you, in my personal experience, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me as an educator, because I know how to be super resourceful. And when we did get money, because at one point our administrator got a mini grant where I was able to purchase actual furniture, and I used to repaint furniture. And so when we got enough money to get some materials for the classroom, I remember still feeling very attached to the things that we had created, and that we that the children had been even a part of, because at the time I was teaching, preschool and kindergarten. And so I think that it's important, especially now with Quality First dollars, thank goodness that there are opportunities for us to be able to buy materials in classrooms that so desperately need them. But at the same time, I get a bit sad when I see things that, like those teddy bear counters. So I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, these teddy bear counters came out, but not only there were teddy bears, but there were airplane, like transportation counters. And then there's, what are the other ones? Fruit. Yes. There was a container of fruit. There were others too.
Transportation vehicles.
Yeah, like little figurines.
But they were like the same exact containers with the same exact sorts of counters, the same exact colors. They were just, and there were those rubber ones that kind of looked like erasers, and they were like the same but a little bit different. And I thought, you know, when I was teaching, I used bottle caps and I used stones and keys. I remember putting a message out to parents saying, if you have any, who doesn't have a key that you go, I have no idea what this belongs to. And so I had parents bring in keys and buttons. We collected all kinds of buttons, and we sorted with those types of materials. And so when teachers say to us, I have no money, there's no money in the budget to, and my first go-to is, oh my goodness, you can create so many of these things. And so we've had conversations as a group about how do we inform teachers who don't have master teachers to work with or mentor teachers who know how to do this kind of stuff. How do we help provide support to teachers so that you know that you can, there are things that you can create for your classroom that help build early childhood development in terms of their brain development. So having said all that, I want you to know a little bit about Regina. Regina was actually one of my child's teachers. And so if you can imagine having me as a parent,
I interviewed her all about that.
It's not easy. And, you know, of course I go in with my own ideas and perspectives and what I think should happen. And Regina, sometimes I think felt like she was going to pass out.
Every time you were in the room.
But what I noticed as a classroom teacher is that she not only was very open-hearted and you know, fearful about, am I, you know, doing the right thing, because I do want to do the right thing, but very open-hearted about making changes and applying her new understanding and new knowledge to the experiences that the children were having. And one of the things that I noticed very quickly about Regina is that she was very resourceful. She was working at a school that didn't have a whole lot of money, and she had to figure out, okay, these are the things that I need in the classroom. These are the things that I want to have in the classroom, but there is no money. So I watched her creatively, I think in part from her own ideas, bring materials that she had made in the classroom that the children really took a grasp to and really, I think, appreciated, knowing that their teacher created these opportunities, and to them there was no difference in terms of quality of experience. The other thing too is, you know, I think a lot of us, I know when I was a classroom teacher, I didn't have Pinterest. I look at Pinterest and I have to tell you, there's a lot of crap on Pinterest, but there's a lot of really good stuff on Pinterest as well in terms of ideas. And I had old school books. That's what I had. So I used to lay out on my books and try to figure out and get ideas to really kind of use as a platform. So one of the things that Regina also does is she takes ideas from like Pinterest or places or teachers that are doing some amazing things. It's not stealing, folks. We're helping each other build good foundations for children. And so we should be raising each other up instead of going, don't take that from me. And she took my da-da-da-da-da. No one needs that. And so we're here to help you learn how to help each other get better at the work that you are doing with children. And so one of the things that she does is she takes ideas and she jumps off using it as a platform because she doesn't have that material, or that it didn't work out this way for them for whatever reason. So having said all that, Regina, tell us a little bit about your classroom experience and your perspectives around creativity and what you bring in supporting children's growth and development.
Well, I think for me, one, coming from a background where we didn't have a lot, I mean, even growing up as a kid, it was one of those things that I think my mom did. And then I think I just learned from her, from watching her, that we had to create something out of nothing. And so a couple of the things that actually comes to mind that I created in my classroom was we didn't have a safe area. We didn't have a safe place. And that's, you know, just super, super important in terms of kids' social emotional development. And so I had this giant box that I had gotten, and I created a safe place using that. And it actually worked really, really well. And I kind of miss it because I think then we got like a nice one, and it was like, oh, well, but the kids helped create this one. And I think because they helped do that, because they helped that process, it really became theirs. It became, this is something that we created for our classroom.
Yeah. I remember because I don't think we were there yet when you had the cardboard box.
Yeah.
You had gotten the wooden one. And a lot of you preschool
Mhm.
teachers have this in your classroom right now. It's the big square wooden one with the big hole cutouts, except on one side.
Yes.
I
Like
thought it was
cube.
on 3 sides. I couldn't remember. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
like a cube. I see
yeah,
those in the classroom.
a lot of teachers have them in the classroom. And you know what? They're expensive. They're
Yeah, they
at
are.
least $300. And I have to tell you what Regina just said, get a box. Let the kids paint it. And because it's theirs, they take ownership of those types of experiences.
Yeah. And I would say that they honestly probably took more care of our cardboard box and utilized it more so than the one that we had purchased, which was very lovely and very nice. But I think, again, because they were part of that experience, it became theirs. Right. Another thing that I remembered making, I think we had gone to some training or something, and light table was just a huge, amazing thing that we could not afford, because I think they're like $300
at least.
And so then I think talking with you, Isela, we figured out how I could create a light table using just a plastic bin. And I think I had a couple trial and errors, because it was one of those things, okay, is it going to get too hot? Am I going to burn this place down? Melt this box? But through just trial and error, I think I figured out like lining it with foil on the bottom, using a ton of Christmas lights. And then I think I was trying to figure out how to diffuse the light, because when you just let it shine through a clear box, that light just shines through. It doesn't really diffuse it and spread it evenly. And so I think I ended up using wax paper or parchment paper. And it was just so amazing, because the kids were so excited that we had this new thing in the classroom that they could use and explore. When you stick things onto a light table, like x-rays or even those water beads, it's just an amazing and beautiful experience. And they learn about light and how it moves and how it shines through these pieces. And so
yeah, I remember that trial and error, actually. And I think that, so a light table, we see the light tables in a lot of Reggio inspired classrooms, and there's a lot of attention paid to light and shadows, because young children, 2-year-old children, 18-month-old children, when they start to see their shadows and they start to recognize there's this shadow that's following them, some children have an adverse reaction to it. They're like, make it go away. And so light and shadow are important things that children notice when they are young. And even when they get older, you can do all kinds of great stuff about shadow and light and the sun and when it moves and what happens. But I remember our conversations about having a light table. The other thing that we didn't mention is that Regina's classroom was the size of a closet. So when teachers when they come to our model classroom and they go, oh no, we can't, this classroom is way bigger than what we have. You have to understand that Regina's classroom was, I'm not kidding, a large walk-in closet. It's like a large walk-in closet. So maybe that and a little bit more. And it was a square, which was nice, because other classrooms are built in ways where there's a lot of blind spots. But really, truly, each area only allowed for maybe 2 or 3 children. But we were still able to put all of the necessary foundations in terms of areas in the classroom. But to add a light table, it wasn't, even if we could afford a light table, where the heck were we going to put it? And so what she made a light table out of like a Rubbermaid clear bin, and it rested on a table. And so when children needed it, they can just or on the floor even. Mm-hmm. And so that was the nice thing about having, it's like, designing those mini houses for those. Those little houses. That was kind of like what designing Regina's classroom was like. And that's where we got a lot of the ideas about how do you add, like when we do the shoe holders. Yeah. Didn't we do that?
Pouches.
Yeah, we did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because she didn't have space in her block area. Right. And so that became her storage space in that area.
I want to go back to that with the bin. The bin is a bed. I want to say like it's a storage bin that you can put underneath your bed usually, if you use it for clothes.
Oh, like a sweater bag. They're called sweater bins.
Yeah, rectangle. But I think I love that concept better really than the fancy ones because of the versatility coming from a family childcare background. Even as a parent, the versatility of making that on your own and being able to put that nowadays, you don't even have to plug the lights in.
Mhm.
You have the ones with the batteries now, which I think is great. I wish I would have had that back in the day when I was doing childcare, and I can put that anywhere on my kitchen table. There's so many possibilities now, and it allows, I think, for more creativity with the kids versus being a table in one spot.
Yeah, and you think about the space that I had with my small closet classroom. I mean, those tables take up quite a bit of room, but having the bin, being able to take it in and out was just so easy for me, and just a space saver, really.
Yeah. While you were talking, one of the conversations I've had recently with a few educators is that there's a whole network of homeschool families, homeschoolers, that if you know homeschool folks, please let them know about us, because we really want to connect with that group of folks as well and provide support in terms of understanding brain development. But, this is a really nice thing to do if you're if you do homeschooling, because it is something that's simple to do. I would say you could probably do it under $10, $15 if you shop at the right places. And again, once your kids grow out of it, you haven't invested a ton of money. The other thing too that I was just thinking as you were talking, what I never did as a parent was to actually bring that bin outside at night.
That is an amazing experience.
Yeah. Like if it was at night, and to bring that light table outside, what kind of experiences could we have with that? I mean, that's a whole different element that many of us wouldn't have obviously at school, because we're at school in the night. But those of you who do homeschool, that lends itself to a whole different experience.
Absolutely.
So our focus for this upcoming session, when is our session?
It's December 13th, Wednesday evening from 5:30 to 7:30.
All right. So it's going to be at Brooks Academy, which is located in Phoenix, right off of I-10. I mean, we are literally like maybe 6 minutes, if that, off of I-10 and 32nd Street, just south of 32nd Street, or just south of Broadway. And we are located at Brooks Academy, thanks to the Roosevelt School District. And we try to do these sessions at 5 in the evening so that teachers are able to get to us. We know that some of our sessions are midday and a lot of teachers aren't able to get subs. But this particular session is geared towards our 0 to 3. So it's really looking at infant toddler experiences. Now, Regina is also developing, as is Debbie. They are both developing sessions that are very specific to our preschool and kindergarten group as well. But this one is very specific to 0 to 3. And what we're really taking a look at is the types of materials that you can create in your classroom to help children build their brain, their neural pathways in the brain. And when I became a mom, I would go to the big box stores. And I would walk down they walk down the aisleway with my daughter, and I was very overwhelmed by all of the toys that have batteries. And even commercials that have, this is going to help your child learn the ABCs, and these lights and all of you push the buttons and the thing lights up, and that they require batteries and all this stuff. And as a parent, you might look at that and go, oh yes, I want my kid to know their alphabet. Of course, I want my kid to learn their colors. Of course, I want my kid to have these types of experiences that are going to help them be, ready for Harvard. And so we want to be a good parent. So we go buy these things that claim to do all of these amazing things. And the truth of it is, and one of the things I learned as a teacher when I was a teacher of 0 to 3 was that, quite honestly, and this is true for preschool too, but a cardboard box and some masking tape was the best thing ever. And too often we, first off, we think that these lights and these sounds and all of that is somehow helping build brains. And I will tell you that what has happened as a result in our society, and also we have these shut up toys. And if you've been to my sessions, you've heard I'm waving my iPhone for the listener, right? Yes. And my iPad. We have these what I call shut up toys. And we think that when we put children on these devices, or even the ones that you push the button and the light shines and sings the song and all of that, that somehow we're creating good opportunities for children. And what the research says over and over and over again, that those any of the technology we have, and even the toys that do all of those things, they do not substitute for connections with people. They will never substitute, because we have an innate need to connect. And so, and connection through these types of experiences that we can create in the classroom and bring to the children is really the best way to support their learning and their development. And so we're, as a parent, I think, and as a classroom teacher, I think it helps you help educate and inform parents. So when they come into your classroom and you see that you can easily create these materials that they have at home, you have now provided or empowered them to have the same experience at home, because they can't afford, or who wants to pay $400 for a light table to sit in, right? And so Regina, show us just an example of one of the things that you have done and created for your daughter. So let's share that. You have a baby.
I have a baby. And so actually, it's so funny because her birthday is coming up next Friday. Actually, it's a week from today, which is, I know it's crazy to think that she's going to be a year already. Wow. And actually, I'm getting a lot of questions from people asking, oh, what is she into? What does she like to play with? And I just tell them, I'm like, she plays with the cheapest and most random crap. You know, I think at the time when I was messaging someone, I was like, right now she's got tile samples in her hands and she's walking around with them. Mm-hmm. And so she just enjoys these things that don't do anything, but that she can manipulate them and actually make them do something. So one of the things that I've made her, and actually we will be making in the session, is right now I'm holding an empty tissue box. But inside I've actually stuffed it with a bunch of like tulle and scarves. And so she'll just sit there and just pull them out until it's empty. And then we just stuff it back in there, and she continues to do that over and over again. Another thing that I actually created for her recently that we won't be doing in our session is we made a water table for her using PVC pipe and a tub, because she loves water. She is a kid who is just drawn to it. The moment she sees it, she just goes and like waddles towards it and just sticks her hand in it. And so I created one for her because I didn't have the money. I mean, I just don't want to spend the money, the $50 on a water table that
there's no need to.
To get a bigger size, because she's going to grow and she's going to get taller and the table's going to get too low for her. And so the nice thing about the one that I made is I can continue to add connectors and stack it, and so that as she grows, it grows with her. And then another thing I know that we're going to be making is a baby doll. I think a lot of schools, the funding, is just so tight. And so even having the amount of baby dolls to go with the amount of kids you have in the classroom is really tough. So we're going to be making some pantyhose baby dolls with that and some onesies. And so, I mean, I know I'm really excited about it, about creating these with you, as well as just trying it out on my own. But, I think about the shut up toys. We talked, I know you mentioned that. The iPad, the iPhone, I can't tell you how many times I go out and I just see a kid with that in their hands. And it's disheartening because, sure, my kid probably would love to just play with my phone, but it doesn't replace the fact that we have connections, that we talk to each other, that we communicate and we interact with each other. And also I have just a bag of random stuff for her to play with when she decides that she wants to do something kind of on her own. And one of the things that she plays with is actually, those, it's the diaper bag refillers.
Mm-hmm.
The dog poop refillers or whatever. That piece right there, I swear, she like cuddles with it. She just hangs on to it. She just continues to explore it like it's something new. And it's just so exciting to her.
Well, because it's small, because she can probably,
Yes,
she can hold it. Yeah.
And she loves that. And so that's the thing. Like, she loves the simplest of toys. We've gotten some things that make the noise and the lights, and we use it very sparingly. But even when we use it, she maybe takes a look at it for a couple minutes and then she's done. And she wants to go explore something else that doesn't do anything.
So I have a couple comments. Recently my kid was watching, I have a daughter who's 9, in case those of you who don't know my story, she's 9 now. And she was watching some, I don't know, Nickelodeon or something. And there was a commercial. They have that baby alive that cries now.
Oh, I've seen
Tears come out of her eyes. And I'm like, okay, that's creepy, first off. I'm like, that's just creepy. But one of the things that for me, I just remember, you pretend, I tell my daughter this, you pretend that the baby cries. You pretend that the baby is hungry. That imagination is what taps into our creativity. They're so intertwined. And all of those types of experiences really, truly become the foundation for innovation. And so the pretending is what's important. And so one of the things you mentioned, Regina, is that that she manipulates, that she's in charge of the experience. When we put those types of things that, have bells and whistles and the songs and all of that, the child becomes now a passive engager in the experience, because the toy is the one doing the thing. The child isn't doing the thing. And the brain needs to have the child have the experience of taking a risk, of snapping things, of opening things, because children are naturally curious, and they discover and they explore and they create from the time that they come out of our wombs. They really come out and really ready to receive the world. And the way that they do it is through their senses. They put everything in their mouth. And one of the things that they also do at around the age that your child is, and even a little bit younger, is they do that dumping and filling thing. Yeah. That is a natural progression. It's a natural experience and parents and teachers both get so pissed off that they put all the things back into the container and the child goes and dumps it. And then they pick it and then they dump it. And like clothes in their clothes basket.
The hampers, yeah.
The child just goes and dumps everything out of their drawers. And I have so many people who have said to me, oh, that drives me crazy. It's their job.
Yeah.
Like, that's their job, is to dump and fill. It's cause and effect. It's a part of their developmental progression for learning. And so that thing that you just created with the simple shoebox, or not a shoebox, a Kleenex box or tissue box with fabric in it. And you could put all kinds of stuff. It didn't have to necessarily be fabric. Fabric just makes it more alluring for some children. But the idea of pulling it out is it supports what a lot of children naturally do anyway. Mm-hmm. And then the other key to this is not just the thing that you create, but it's the experience that they have. Mm-hmm. And so, Regina, can you lift up the box and just pull it out and pretend like, a child, the way a child would? So I might go, you're pulling out the blue scarf. Look how long that is. Yeah. Look and at the same time, the purple one came out. Now you have the orange one. I can see you through it. Look at that. I can see your eyes. And so those kinds of conversations of just, and there's a lot of things that it's called. We've always called it sportscasting. Class calls it parallel talk, I believe. Yeah. But it's just simply describing what it is that the child is doing, the connection that's happening and the language that's occurring is building children's brains. And it's pretty amazing how something so simple can be such a rich experience for children.
I think it's good to note that we have to keep in mind that just by calling it out, just by describing what you're seeing, it doesn't need to be complex. That's all. Even doing that at the parent level or as an educator, that's developing the brain of the child right there, hearing that language.
Yeah.
So
And
I think that's also important.
Our facial expressions too, when we lean in and we give that smile and that connection as they're having these types of experiences. I would take this Kleenex box with fabric inside of it or tulle inside of it. I would take that over anything that required a battery. And I will tell you that when I was a mom, and you were right, around holidays and birthdays, you start to get the question of, what's your child into? I used to actually put on our Christmas cards and we used to do New Year's cards for everyone, because I never had it together well enough to get everything out before. So we would do it at the turn of the year. So in January, when everybody got our information, I would put in emails and stuff like that, please no batteries, nothing, no batteries and no on and off switches. And that was a rule for Gia for at least her first year, if not into her at nearly 2 years of age. And even if it had a battery, I would pop it out. And so we would figure out how to play with it without a battery. Yeah. And so that was an important thing for me, because I know the significance of helping children develop that imagination and the significance of that.
I want to go back real quickly to what Marisa, how you were saying, and both of you were saying, like, having those conversations, describing to them and leaning into them. It's so important to do that, because I think a lot of times we could end up being very passive and just like, here, just go play with this. I'm not going to talk to you right now. Like, you go entertain yourself. And I can tell you, I'm just with my kid and doing these things and just like, okay, I wonder what would happen if I stepped away and watched her do it. Leaning in and interacting with her is so much more rich and just engaging for her. And she enjoys it so much more than if I were just to hand her the box and just let her kind of do things on her own. Because she does. She likes that interaction. She likes that we're having this back and forth conversation. I mean, kind of, like with her and whatever it is that she's saying about what she's doing. And so it's very important that we remember to do that with these kids rather than just give them the toys. Sorry, my cat is
so
hanging out.
There was this cat that just walked across Regina's screen with her tail, like rubbing your neck. That was so funny.
The house of baby,
very funny.
A baby and cats, and it's just crazy in here.
Well, I want to also mention, I'm going to be posting the link to this session as well. You register through Eventbrite, but on the flyer that's going to be going out, I love the images that are used for the flyer with Violet, with Regina's daughter. One of the images shows Violet interacting with the pegboard, and it's an interactive latch board. Made from pegs. We had been talking about that, and I know I loved creating those interactive walls when I worked at the children's shelter for our infants and toddlers, and things like that can be so easy. And we talk about, like, I am not a crafty person. This is Marisa again. I'm not a crafty person, but I can tie things. I can tape things. I can kind of make do. I went and got a tub at Home Depot. I love Home Depot. I just don't know how to put things together. And to try to finagle another sand table for my preschooler, and just to mess with it and kind of trial and error and just working through that. But I know with the pegboard, the zip ties work so well with the items that you can find at a Goodwill store, even a hardware store. They're little random ones. I would get the ones that get returned and maybe they're not all together. Those little latches, just to save money. But that email of if you're on our Alessi group subscriber list. You're going to get that information on how to register for that session. And I'm also posting it on Facebook and on our social media. But so just be on the lookout for that. And then also I'm going to be putting this Facebook Live post on our podcast that's going out as well.
I also want to make mention, sorry, Regina, I want to make mention to coaches out there, Quality First coaches, to specialists at the Department of Education, and those of you who are out in schools, in a number of schools. Please send out this information. One of the things that I get is questions about the registry. I am on the registry, but what I'm trying to do is get a lessee group on the registry. And so our sessions are not yet posted on there. I believe that some of the folks who work at PBS who oversee this are at the NAEYC conference. And so so I'm waiting on them to transition just Isela Garcia to a lessee group so that we can be a hosting site, so that we can post all of this information. If you absolutely need this to be on the registry in order for it to be covered or paid for some schools, that might be the issue. Please reach out to us, and I can just go put it on under my name for now, just so that you can register for this event if it's something that you're interested in.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us.
All right. Thank you all. Stay connected to us.
Bye.
Bye.